Intuition is actually a skill. Weird, but true. You have to train your intuition. There's a saying, if you don't use it, you lose it. This doesn't apply with everything, but to a certain degree, actually, yes, it does. Different things have different time scales, but for the most part, it applies to everything. If you don't use it, you lose it. If you've ever gotten an injury, broken an arm really badly, had it in a cast, you don't use those muscles and they just deteriorate because the body doesn't need them. The body knows, hey, there's a lot of extra energy pull. These muscles are pulling a lot of energy for no reason. They're not getting used. Let's take a little bit of this. Let's take a little bit away. They don't get the proper stimulus and you lose it. Strength is a simple one. I used to always hear this about elderly people. Elderly people will, lose their teeth and a lot of elderly people will eat really soft foods. Guess what? They lose their teeth, right? I used to have this image in my head, and I can imagine it so well. It's like an elderly person, but their teeth are like marshmallows. Their teeth are just soft because they're not used to biting onto something hard. It's kind of funny to me, but it's true. You don't use them, you'll lose them. Facial muscles. This is another one. I don't know if you know this. Most people don't know this, but you can train your facial muscles, your chewing muscles, and if you look at certain tribes of people, certain groups of people, specifically ones that eat raw or rare meat, and those that chew a lot, they have very well developed jaw lines. They have well developed facial muscles. You look at, for example, like the British, which don't have, very tough food. They're known for having a very soft diet, sausage and beans and, I don't know, tomato. The British are notorious for having, or maybe infamous for having, poor dental health, right? They got crooked teeth, they got weak jaws. Not all of them, of course. This is just a stereotype. But stereotypes are there for a reason. I won't go further into that. Back to what I was saying. Intuition. You have to use your intuition and you have to be smart with it, or else you don't have any. There's that saying, common sense isn't so common. It's because you have to practice it. You have to practice using your intuition, and these days, you don't need to anymore. Someone asks you something, someone tells you something, hey, look it up on my phone, right? No need to think on my own. Just look it up on my phone. Hey, what's the capital of this? Hey, what's that mean? Right? All this stuff. Look it up on my phone. No need to think about it on my own. And so, how's your intuition going to develop? How are you going to actually know? How are you going to know anything when the time comes, when push comes to shove, and you don't have that resource? Or when the resource is wrong, which happens to be quite a lot. Maybe not about the major things, but about the little things all the time. All the time. Now, the internet's a great resource, but you also have to take everything you read with a grain of salt because there are mistakes online. There are mistakes, there are, intentional mistakes, hopefully not too many, but there's definitely some lies online. There's a there's a channel on YouTube. They're very new actually, only like a couple months, and they make these comedy skits and they're very extreme. And one of the skits is about drinking gasoline. And I thought to myself today, I saw one of their posts and I just thought, like, this is so dangerous in the modern age with, like, obviously it's very satirical comedy, but someone inevitably is going to come across this and think, oh, drinking gasoline. It's like that thing that happened a few years ago here in the States with Tide Pods. If you don't know, Tide is a laundry detergent company. They make like cleaning products, and they had these Tide Pods. They're like laundry detergent in a little water soluble pocket, so that when you put it, you just throw it in with your laundry, and when you turn the machine on, when the water comes in, it'll dissolve in the water and just mix with your clothes. And what happened is people were saying, like, these look real tasty, these look good, like I'd like to have one of these as a snack. And a couple people ended up doing it. Like, now they have to write, not for human consumption on them, because a fair bit of people, whether intentionally or as a joke, swallowed these potent chemicals, and God knows what happened to them. This is the type of person who doesn't really practice their intuition. And I was in that exact same position. I don't even want to say what I've done, but it's pretty close to the same level, honestly. Maybe not so extreme, but just one notch below. You have to practice your intuition. You have to practice using it, listening to it, analyzing your surroundings, your situation. Just like anything else. Just like this. Think about this. The day I leave Plank Purgatory, I may be the best planker I have ever been. A year later, I might struggle with the 1 minute plank. If I don't practice, if I don't use it, I will eventually get worse. This is very common in sports. Specificity, training for specificity in athletics, very common. Think about this. A weightlifter, right? An Olympic level weightlifter. They could be the very best in the world. The Olympic weightlifting, so there's two lifts in Olympic weightlifting, the clean and jerk and the snatch. A person could be the very best in the world at both of these, but now they decide, I'm going to switch to the sport of powerlifting. Powerlifting is 3 lifts: squat, bench, deadlift. If you've trained with so much specificity in clean and jerk and snatch, you're not going to be at the same level as these guys that have only trained in squat, bench, deadlift, just because that's how it works. Specificity is a real thing. Michael Jordan, no matter how incredible he is as a basketball player, when he went to play baseball, well, he wasn't that good, right? He was good. I mean, he's still a professional athlete. He runs fast, but his level of potential, of potency, I don't want to say potential, because maybe if he stuck with baseball, maybe if he stuck with it, he could have been, one of the best. I don't know. As it stands, his potency in basketball is among the best, if not the best. In baseball, well, no one talks about his baseball career. Let's just say that. And guess what? When he came back to basketball, when he stopped playing baseball, came back to basketball, he had to practice hard. He had to practice real hard. And still, yeah, he's great. He's amazing, but he wasn't the same. It took a little bit of time for him to get back to where he was, because if you don't use it, you lose it. If you don't practice communicating with people, you're going to get worse at it. If you don't practice reading, you're going to get worse at it. If you don't practice anything, naturally, entropy takes over and you get worse. Maybe you get better at something else. Life is full of trade-offs. Sometimes you get better at something that's actually worse for you. One example of this is drug users. You can have a very successful person who goes down the wrong path. They start smoking, they start drinking. Guess what? They get really gifted, they get really skilled at drinking or at smoking or at doing drugs. It's a real thing too. You could get good at that stuff too. Is it much use to you? No, but you could get real good at it. But guess what? You're going to get worse at the things that you were good at before. You could be an incredible doctor. If you start popping pills, you start taking painkillers, you're going to be pretty good at taking painkillers and maybe not as good as a doctor anymore. There's trade-offs. Just like this plank. I mean, I was doing quite well with 3-minute planks when I was doing them a little while back. And it's only been about 10 days or a week. And they're tough. They're tougher than I remember. Guess what? I haven't been practicing them. I've been doing planks, but my planks have been shorter. And I've kind of let this idea of what a 3-minute plank is, I've let that go, basically. I've let it go. And now I gotta work hard to kind of get a grasp of it again for the time being while I'm doing these. Don't leave things on the back burner for too long. Get back to them, because it's going to be harder when you get back, no matter what. Don't leave it forever. Get back to it. If you don't use it, you lose it. Trust me. Thank you for watching. I'm gonna go to bed now.